Hello YouTube, Skippy here, coach of the Steel City Surge, back for week 1 of WPF. This week we are taking on PokeBaldy and the Darude Darmanitans. So, we have a very interesting matchup this week. We have a Palafin team who also has Iron Hands, Landorus Incarnate, free Terra Ceruledge, which can be kind of scary. We're going to get into that stuff in a minute. As well as Yuxi being a Terra Captain, and some other interesting picks as well, like Glamora. But in regards to some key points for this team, we do have to worry about Palafin quite a bit. Palafin is a scary mon, very high physical attack, pretty high special attack as well, with decent speed, being at base 100. But Jet Punch being an option at any point for it is very scary. Stab Water type move, 60 base power, fully accurate. Very annoying to try to deal with. Um, Something else to note as well, I mean, I mentioned it before, Terra Ceruledge is pretty scary. It can run pretty much any Terra. It's probably going to run something like Bug, Grass, maybe Steel, because it can take use of its Flash Fire ability. But it could also potentially run Weak Armor, so we got to be aware of that. We also have to worry about Glamora getting up hazards. We do not like hazards up on our side, and with our only defogger being Weezing, really, we can't remove those hazards once they get up. So we got to keep Weezing alive if we possibly can, and try to prevent any sort of hazards getting set up from Glamora, Yuxi, Landorus can even set them up, even Duraludon. We also have to be aware of Hatterene with its magic bounce ability, so we got to keep an eye out for that. I will mention this though, the amount of hazard removal on the other side, it's pretty much just Glamora with Mortal Spin. So they're also in a very difficult situation in terms of hazard control. So as compared to us at least. And lastly here, it is a very slow team. Their fastest mon is Landorus Incarnate at 101 base speed. So um, honestly, it can run. He can probably run some Scarf options here, but the majority of his mons are very very slow or bulky. Which I mean, we've seen that type of team before. We just have to make sure we outspeed and don't let any sort of setup really take control here. Weak armor Ceruledge being the key of this. If it gets one weak armor boost, we may be in a bit of trouble, but on all, it really depends on what the Terra is for it if it is brought. Going into the team that we brought this week, we do have our first overall pick, Darkrai, showing up this week. We're going to be running it with Expert Belt, with a modest nature, max special attack, 184 speed, so that way we can outspeed Landorus Incarnate, and pretty much the entire team without Choice Scarf, with 72 HP EVs being put in for just a little bit of bulk if we can utilize it. The moves we're running for Expert Belt this week are Dark Pulse for stab purposes, Psychic so we can deal with the Iron Hands that's over there, as well as the Glamora. We have Ice Beam for the Landorus if it is not Scarf. If we can get Darkrai in as a revenge killer for that, that would be awesome. And then we also have Sludge Bomb to take care of like Terragrass, Ceruledge, or Hatterene if it does show up to try to deal with Darkrai. And Expert Belt boosts all those moves for super effective damage, so hopefully we can get some good use out of it. I thought about going Life Orb, but I think Expert Belt just makes a little bit more sense here since we're not taking extra damage every turn for potential Palafin sweep with Jet Punch. We do live at least one if we don't get chipped a whole lot, so we should be fine in that department. Going into our next mon for this week, we decided to go ahead and bring Iron Crown with us. We are going to be Terra with this mon. Specifically, we are going to be running Choice Specs Terra Water with it. Choice Specs, I mean, it's got a very high special attack stat as it is, and we just want to run enough speed that we can outspeed Adamant Palafin if he decides to bring it. And everything else went into HP in terms of just overall EV spread. So very bulky with some decent speed added in, as well as some special attack to try to guarantee some 2-hit KOs with some of these moves. We are running a Timid Nature so that we can hit that 300 speed mark, so that way we can outspeed Palafin if it is an Adamant Nature, and if it's not Scarf. Very unlikely that that's the case. It's probably either going to be Scarf or Band, maybe Punching Glove, but I kind of doubt it. It could potentially be Lumberry to prevent like Will-O-Wisp or anything like that, but we're gonna rock with what we got here. Some of the moves we're bringing for Iron Crown this week, we have Psychic Noise to try to prevent Drain Punch from both Palafin and Iron Hands, Tachyon Cutter for stab, Psychic for a more powerful Psychic stab move, and then Volt Switch so we can get a quick little pivot out of there if we do need it. Obviously, that won't work if Landorus shows up on this thing, which it potentially could, but I think we can deal with Landorus pretty well with Psychic or Psychic Noise if we really wanted to take advantage of it. Going from here, our next mon for this week is obviously Weezing-Galar. Like I said before, we don't have the best hazard removal, so whenever we get the chance to bring Weezing, we should definitely bring it until we can make a change to try to bring a Rapid Spinner or another Defogger in onto the roster. But for right now, I think this is fine. It's doable. We are going to be running Black Sludge on it this week, and as well as a Calm Nature with just a max special defense spread. We are running Neutralizing Gas as our ability for this week. It's not shown in here, but Neutralizing Gas is the ability we're running for this mon, as opposed to Levitate, just because Neutralizing Gas will let us show if Landorus shows up and if it runs an attack that we're able to hit or at least tank a little bit. Like Psychic, for instance, I've seen a few Psychic uses. We can try to see if it is Life Orb and Sheer Force, or if it's just another ability. It also prevents Sheer Force from really doing anything to adding extra damage, so good way to try to limit the amount of damage output, regardless if it's not a great matchup. It also should be able to prevent Iron Hands if it does switch in onto Weezing-Galar from getting any sort of Quark Drive boost. That did happen during Monks as well, where Iron Hands didn't get the boost from Booster Energy until we switched out. So just to clarify as well, some of the moves we're running, we are running Defog, obviously, with Toxic Spikes. So if we can get some Toxic Spikes up on the field, if Glimmora is gone, great. Everything's going to get some Poison Chip, which is something we'd like to see. We're also running Will-O-Wisp in case of some heavy-duty Boots mons, or if we see like a physical Landorus set for whatever reason, we could potentially get a catch Palafin off guard. If it is Lumberry or anything like that, we would be able to live at least one hit from Palafin, I believe, and then get a Will-O-Wisp off if it hits. And then we have Strange Steam there for stab purposes, just to get some chip and potentially some confusion hacks if we can get that. That would be awesome, but RNG never really likes me, so we're going to move on from here. Our next selection for this week is Rotom-Wash. We're going to be running a pretty standard Washdom set, I would say, with leftovers and then another specially defensive Mon with max HP, nearly max special defense, summon speed, just to make sure we're not getting sped crept by anything bulky. We are running just Hydro Pump, Volt Switch. We are running Reflect so we can get some good physical walls, or like a better way to deal with some of the physical threats that he has on his side of the field. And then we have Pain Split for our last move, just to get some recovery outside of just leftovers. And we should be able to knock off a good amount of HP from certain mons as well, just because we do have a lower HP stat, even with the 252 EVs into HP. So this is a pretty standard Rotom-Wash stat. I mean, Discharge got swapped out for Reflect pretty much, but I'm looking forward to utilizing this mon this week. It should do pretty well into Palafin, even Ceruledge, Pre-Terra, and such. That's even if Ceruledge shows up. I've seen Yuxi show up in place of Ceruledge. I don't think Ceruledge has a wonderful matchup this week, but if it can get that weak armor boost, like I said before, that could be a problem. And next up on our list, we do have Ogerpon-Hearthflame. Obviously, it has to run the Hearthflame max for its item, or else it couldn't do anything for us. We are going to be running a Jolly set with enough speed to outspeed Landorus, max attack, and then the rest in HP with Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, knockoff for some disruption, and then Encore as well in case we do catch like a nasty plot on a switch in from Landorus. That way we can Encore it into that move and try to get some good chip on it going forward. This is meant to try to break stuff and potentially clean up as well, maybe revenge a few things, depending on whatever is Scarf, because I expect to see one Scarf mon. I'm just not sure what it is or what it's going to do, but this should be able to take care of most of what most of what our opponent wants to bring. And then lastly, for this week, we do have Landorus-Therian. We're going to be running more of a offensive set, but also defensive item. We were running Rocky Helmet, but we're also running a offensive Jolly set. We have Earthquake, Smackdown, the 1-2 combination, in case we get this Smackdown off into like an Air Balloon mon or something, just to knock out the Air Balloon. smack down Landorus, because I believe that is his only ground immunity. U-turn for pivoting, and then Stealth Rock so we can get some hazards up. This thing is mainly meant to be our lead for this week, so we're going to lead it off. If we can get Stealth Rocks, if there's no Hatterene, we're going to go for Rocks turn 1, potentially, depending on what shows up on the other side of the field. If we need to, we can smack down a Landorus on the other side and threaten an Earthquake. It really depends on the lead that he wants to go with, and I think this could be very pivotal, depending on what lead he decides to go with, but all in all, I think this team for this week is very solid. I think it does what we need it to do, and we just have to play smart with it. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for the battle here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the actual battle.